I watched her documentary before she ever became big. I think I seen on PBS, on Channel 13. You could tell she was a rough. She had anger problems. She was not ladylike. She was nigga boy, tomboy. Nah, and she, nigga, she went through the process and corrected what needed to be corrected to represent what a champ is. She ain't no Layla Ali. None of our new youth are what our old stars used to be. They got their own mind, they got their own identity. So nah, man, they picking on Claressa. And can't nobody whoop her. So
when Charleston White spoke, he didn't yell, he didn't rant, he exposed. That silence we all assumed meant loyalty. It suddenly became the loudest confession of all. For years, the world was sold a perfect story. Claressa Shields flawless in the ring, Papoose steady in his lane. A power couple, a love story wrapped in fame, money, and applause. But Charleston White stepped in and asked the question nobody else dared. What if this was never love at all? What if it was strategy, image, positioning? What if the carefully curated life we were shown was more about optics than heart? And he didn't attack Claressa. He didn't throw insults. He didn't beg for attention. He did something more dangerous. He connected the dots. He reminded everyone that Claressa Shields wasn't born polished. She was raw, angry, unfiltered. And she was reshaped not just into a fighter, but into a brand. A brand that couldn't survive chaos, that couldn't tolerate questions, and that had to be protected at all costs.
So Claressa Shields wants to have babies with Papoose while he's still married to Remy.
They gonna look like African kids, Ugandan babies. Yeah. They ain't gonna know if them babies Nigerian, Jamaican, or Haitian. But they gonna have some pretty chocolate skin. And don't know if their hair gonna be too straight or wavy. They may have African hair. But they sure gonna be nigga kid. Yeah. They gonna be some smart kids that know how to fight.
And that's where the story gets dark. While the camera stayed glued to her boxing victories, other forces quietly moved behind the scenes. Money, influence, control, power. And right there in the middle of it all was Papoose. Not just a partner, but a gatekeeper. Someone whose silence wasn't accidental. It was strategic. Charleston White didn't point fingers or accuse anyone. He let the pattern speak for itself. He let the silence speak. And once that pattern was exposed, the relationship everyone celebrated started to look less like romance and more like a calculated agreement. Because here's the truth. When love is real, it doesn't need control. It doesn't need silence. It doesn't feel like a business deal with an expiration date. But in this case, Claressa talking about having babies with Papoose while he's still legally married wasn't about romance. That's strategic positioning. And the way Charleston White described it made it almost uncomfortable to watch the kids they plan on having their heritage. Even the way he broke down the reality of it. It all painted a picture of something carefully staged, not heartfelt. What made Charleston Este's words hit so hard wasn't the volume or the drama. It was the precision, the calm, the way he spoke as if we'd been ignoring the truth this whole time. He wasn't ranting. He was reframing the entire narrative.
Yeah, that nigga Papoose, and this is why I say that. You ain't never heard no hoe come out and say nothing bad about him for her. Even when this hoe was doing wrong, he wasn't running to the internet bashing her. And he don't speak much. He's a man of silence, so that means his words are important to him. I done seen him get with 2 women. It seemed like he brought the best out of both women. Yeah, I don't know too many niggas that gonna hold their girl down when they go to jail.
Suddenly, the entire story around Claressa Shields and Papo started to collapse. He didn't question her talent. He questioned the system that wrapped her talent in insulation. He pointed out that her rise wasn't just about discipline or skill. It was about protection, image management, narrative control. The public saw a fighter. What we didn't see was how carefully everything around her was controlled. And then he shifted the focus to Papoose. Not as a romantic figure, but as a stabilizer in the public story, always quiet, always present, never confrontational, yet always in the frame. The person controlling the narrative through silence, filtering criticism before it ever reached her. That's when a relationship stops looking like love and starts looking like alignment. Charleston explained that this wasn't emotional, it was functional. Claressa needed stability, credibility, and insulation. Papoose needed visibility, relevance, and access to power. Together, they didn't just look strong, they looked safe. And in an industry obsessed with appearances, safety is currency. Remy Ma enters the picture quietly but pointedly. Charleston White framed her absence not as coincidence, but as incompatibility with control. She challenged narratives.
She also makes more money than him, similar to Remy Ma. So would you consider him a gold digger?
No. A player ain't never been a gold digger. That nigga's a player. Nigga, that smooth player, nigga. Nah, man. Nah, you always supposed to play for the bank. My grandmama told me, if a woman really like you, it ain't nothing she won't do for you. Well, grandmama, how you know if she really like you? She'll give you her money.
Claressa never seemed like someone willing to follow the unwritten rules or stay quiet when expected. And when a system can't predict or control someone, that person often finds themselves pushed to the sidelines. Charleston White wasn't claiming there was some secret conspiracy. Instead, he highlighted recurring patterns, how certain people receive endless support while others are gradually ignored. In his view, visibility often depends on usefulness. According to Charleston, Claressa wasn't viewed only as a champion boxer. She represented a valuable public image, something worth protecting. That raised another question. Why did Papoose remain publicly silent during major controversies? Why wasn't he the first person speaking out? Charleston argued that silence wasn't necessarily innocence, it was discipline and strategy. Sometimes remaining quiet is a form of control. He suggested that much of what the public believed about this relationship may have been shaped by careful image management. When Claressa needed consistency and Papoose benefited from proximity and opportunity, their interests appeared to align. Many called it romance, but Charleston hinted that strategic partnership may have played a larger role than people realized. He went on to argue that Claressa's world gradually became less about unpredictability and more about presentation. Image, protection, and reputation seemed to take priority. In such an environment, people asking difficult questions weren't seen as curious observers. They became problems. Charleston also criticized the industry surrounding them. He noted that many voices claiming to support empowerment stayed quiet when serious scrutiny emerged. Media platforms continued repeating comfortable narratives while critics were quickly dismissed as jealous, bitter, or hateful. To him, that wasn't neutrality, it looked like cooperation. One of his strongest points centered on how influence operates. Real control doesn't always appear obvious. It often hides behind words like loyalty, support, and protection. Over time, those boundaries can become difficult to recognize. As the discussion evolved, Charleston shifted away from individual personalities and focused on larger systems of power. He described the Claressa-Papoose dynamic as efficient rather than chaotic. Efficiency, he argued, isn't driven by emotion. It's calculated, structured, and designed to reduce risk. He suggested that controlling access to media narratives also means controlling public perception. The ability to decide what gets highlighted, what gets softened, and what never reaches the audience creates enormous influence. From the outside, it may look like support. Internally, it can function as a carefully managed environment. In that setting, affection doesn't necessarily disappear, it can become intertwined with stability, leverage, and security. Charleston also addressed finances. His point wasn't that Papoose was chasing money. Instead, he argued that unrestricted access and mutual benefits reveal deeper power dynamics based on alignment rather than ownership. Then came Remy Ma. Charleston portrayed her not as a source of drama, but as an unpredictable factor. She speaks openly, challenges narratives, and doesn't always play by the rules. Systems built around control often struggle with variables they can't manage. To Charleston, This situation wasn't celebrity gossip. It was a lesson in how influence, reputation, and survival operate in public life. Industries benefit from clean storylines and carefully managed relationships. As a result, critics are often labeled negatively before their arguments are even considered. He concluded with a striking observation: relationships built primarily on utility rarely end with explosive drama. They fade quietly when the value equation changes. Once protection weakens and priorities shift, information starts emerging piece by piece. Loyalty can begin to resemble obligation rather than genuine devotion. Charleston reminded viewers that many modern celebrity relationships function almost like business arrangements. Questions become less about feelings and more about who protects the brand, who absorbs criticism, and who controls access. When those factors outweigh affection, the relationship may end up serving a system rather than the people inside it. Ultimately, he framed the Claressa Shields and Papoose story as a discussion about influence, dependence, and power, not heroes and villains. In his view, silence protected the structure more than the individuals involved. And once maintaining that structure became too costly, pieces of the truth began surfacing on their own. What do you think? Was this relationship driven by genuine love, or was it largely built on mutual benefit and strategic alignment? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more deep dives into the stories behind the headlines.